to create and deploy digital people and create more humanistic experiences. So I'm really excited to chat today.
Hi everybody, I'm Shalini De Mello. I'm a distinguished research scientist and a director of research for new experiences at NVIDIA. And
Who is that? What company was that?
NVIDIA. And I'm behind the scenes. I developed new AI technology for reimagining how humans can interact with each other or humans can interact with machines.
Hey everyone, my name is Verten and I lead the strategy team at Synthesia. And Synthesia is really the largest AI video platform for the enterprise. We serve about 50,000 clients globally, including half of the Fortune 100. To give you a sense of the scalability of AI video, we've generated over 18 million videos for our clients globally. Before joining Synthesia, I worked at WPP on the CTO team where I launched our AI program for our 100,000 employees. And really what my role is about is to work with our enterprise clients on scoping some of the new AI native experiences that generative AI might power.
Excellent. And I did want to mention that Brett Leonard unfortunately got the COVID, but he's doing fine. So he's not here virtually or alive because he doesn't want to get any of you sick, but we appreciate him being careful. So let's jump right in, Fay. I want to talk to you a little bit more about, in my mind, you're really representing an enterprise solution. So can you talk to us a little bit about what that means when it comes to virtual humans and what you're doing?
Sure. And so just to back up, because I realize people may be not as familiar with soul machines, just to kind of let you know what we do. So what we do is really bring Gen AI and large language models to life by some extraordinary, groundbreaking technology developed by Mark Sager, who you may know as doing some of the graphics and kind of videos behind Avatar, King Kong. He won a couple of Academy Awards for them. So basically, we are an experience layer that sits on top of any language model. We're fully agnostic. And then our tech creates like more humanistic, emotional connections through a digital brain. And so what we do is a couple of things on the enterprise front. So we actually span a variety of industries and a variety of technology. So just to give you a couple of examples to kind of bring it to life. So some of our biggest clients include folks in automotives, financial services, nonprofit. So quick example, so World Health Organization, right? Difficult few couple of years, COVID, things like that. So we built a digital persona that allowed them to educate customers on COVID prevention, alcoholism prevention, et cetera. Also on the enterprise side, think about in the financial services industry. So we have a couple of customers who educate people on things like how you think about investment advice, or how you think about taking advantage of credit card services, or how do you think about planning trips for their customers. And then the last quick example I'll give you is on the automotive side. So we big partnership with GM where we actually built a digital brand ambassador that exists on their platform. So for example, if you want to go purchase a car and you're thinking about it off hours, you have a lot of questions, you want to learn more, you can go directly and interact with that digital avatar in a more humanistic way that will allow you to kind of help purchase, have your questions answered, things like that. So that is a little bit of what we do on the enterprise side. We do a couple other things, but I want to pause there.
Well, and you also, so you have this business from digital celebs, but then you also have the enterprise solutions. Can you sort of talk about what's really key that's different between the two? And that will help sort of share what's really going on with virtual humans.
Yeah, great question. So on the enterprise side, I mean, you can think of our large enterprise customers as like your Googles, your Amazons, your Microsofts, et cetera. And they're really focused on, right, like how do they empower like their customers, their brands, their consumers? And then on the digital celeb side, we actually work directly with a variety of celebs. So some of our partners are former NBA All-Star Carmelo Anthony, legendary golfer Jack Nicklaus, K-pop star Mark Twain, and former UFC fighter turned boxer Francis Ngannou. And what we're doing there is a couple of things, because what we've heard from digital celebrities or from celebrities are a few things, right? So they're focused on how do they grow their brands, how do they scale, and how do they do things in a way, because they have commitments, they have tours, but they don't have time to do this, right? And so we work with them directly to build a digital twin that embodies their personality, helps them think about focusing and promoting different brand projects, helping them launch that, and then helping them really reach and engage with fans in a way that they haven't before. And just a couple of quick call outs just to show you this kind of engagement. So Mark Twain, We launched him last year, and he has had more than 35,000 two-way interactive conversations with his fans, 650 plus hours of chat time. So literally think about 30 consecutive days of chatting with his fans. And like to contextualize that for a bit, like when we think about his one-way interactions on other social platforms, what digital Mark is getting is literally 10x engagement that he's getting on other platforms. And the other and last one to quickly call out for you is Francis Ngannou. I mentioned him, former UFC fighter. So last year, right, he's training for the big Tyson Fury match, you know, fully busy. And in the time up to launch, like his fans want to know, like, what's he doing, what's he excited about, et cetera. But he doesn't have time for this. So we launched him, and within the first 72 hours, he had more than 1,000 conversations, 60 plus hours of talk time. And again, looking at the comparison, more 8x engagement. And as we think about where things are shifting, and as people are, and celebrities and brands are kind of thinking of how you engage off of social as there's sentiment challenges, engagement challenges, we're really seeing them turn towards this, and we're seeing some early evidence of kind of performance success. So we're really excited about this.
That's great. We're going to come back to you more. Now I want to go over to Shalina. Did I say that right, Shalina? Shalini. Okay, see, you're representing for me the tech company, the research side. So talk to us a little bit about your mandate, because you have a very specific one around this space.
Great. So our mandate is essentially to look at how we could reimagine interactions both between humans as well as between humans and machines using as much AI technology as we possibly can. So our whole goal is to try to think about what sort of technologies that in the whole chain of this interaction that we can invent using AI, both from there's kind of like 4 pillars of it that I will describe that we're thinking about. So one of them is obviously creation and recreation of humans in the 3D space, essentially like, color and depth, so, entire RGBD humans. And that could be you provide a picture and then you can recreate that, which would be something applicable to like celebrities, like you mentioned, or just creating humans based on a text description, 3D humans, virtual humans, so creating those. And then the other piece of it is also we're interested in sort of building AI technology for understanding humans as well, because when 2 people are communicating, it's not just like a one-way street. You've also got to understand the other person that's communicating and what their emotions are, and things like that. So that's the other piece of the AI technology. And then just fundamental computer vision technology is another piece of it that we're interested in developing, whether that's nerves or display technology, streaming technology, all of which would enable these things to be, and all using AI. Everything is based on AI that would enable, quick and efficient transmission and display in the whole chain of things. So
that's so cool. And I understand you're giving everyone here some NVIDIA stock. Just kidding. All right. And what I love about what you're talking about, and you're going to hear this as a theme through all the panelists, is that everything they're doing is also planting seeds for what they can do with that asset later. So just keep that in the back of your mind, that this initial way they're leveraging this technology, there's a long-term plan for where this can go. And you were saying to me when we were talking that, you're looking at this as a foundational sort of build for gaming, for conferences, for all sorts of other exports of this, right?
That's exactly right. That is 100%. So we're thinking about what are the foundational pieces of technology from the scientific perspective, from AI technology that we need to build that would service a large number of different industries and different applications.
All right, and Jordan, let's pop over to you. You have the agency perspective, right? Media.Monks is much more than just agency in many things, but tell us how you're thinking about it, because you're bringing AI as a solution to clients, and when it comes to virtual humans, what's real?
Okay, great question, loaded question.
What's real? Huh?
AI Agency of the Year, by the way.
Ooh, check that. Let's have a hand for that. That's very cool.
Now the pressure's on. But for real, from an agency perspective, I think we have the responsibility of representing the commercial application to this to the consumer, and that comes along with representing the brand, consumer, culture, and context. And so from a brand perspective, it's a no-brainer. We should be using some digital avatars driving down fixed costs, or creating new touch points to drive engagement and loyalty, conversion, and profit. Awesome. Brand is checked. From a culture perspective, we talked about gaming, the younger generations. I'm a geriatric millennial. But they're used to interacting with avatars that are very lifelike in kind of very vulnerable ways, which is also, they're ready for it. But from a consumer perspective and from a context perspective, I think those are always variables that we have to kind of figure out. And so from a consumer perspective, does it have the Apple effect, and does the digital avatar fit into my journey and make things easier? That'd be great. Most tech that's fantastic is invisible, but digital avatars are not. In fact, that's when we have to start thinking about the uncanny valley effect, which I think most of us know here, but when you're interacting with something that's superhuman, like but not quite human, that's when that uncanny nature, right?
You notice it bugs you.
It can be revolts. I mean, you're just kind of like, ugh. And so I think there are a couple opportunities for brands that can kind of have a foot in the door if they want to go sort of like human-like. And I think the first one are brands that have already established sort of these personas. I'm thinking like Flo from Progressive or Jake from State Farm, right? Like they can leverage the parasocial interaction they've been using for years and just make that a persona, a celebrity, if you will, to represent their brand. I think that is a really great way of bridging that familiarity gap that happens. The other opportunity is like what we always do anytime we're launching something new. If we want to launch a new digital avatar to fit into the consumer journey, create a campaign, do some storytelling around it, give it a backstory, and just make it familiar before you expect the consumer to engage with it. And then the last thing, which I think is really important, that you don't have to necessarily have a human-looking avatar that can kind of get stuff done for you on the consumer journey, which is make it a thing. Make it Tony the Tiger for Frosted Flakes, or the Geico Lizard we were just talking about, or just something brand new. Because I think we all feel a little bit more comfortable interacting with something maybe a little less human.
But still have being something you can engage with.
Very powerful.
And are clients asking you, what is your AI solution for us? And does every sort of account rep in the company now have a toolkit, or are you brought in as the AI czar?
Both. Yes.
Okay, both.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, we are coming at it from a few different directions. I'm very much coming at it from like a brand experience perspective, but we are also thinking about it from a, synthetic asset pipeline creation, assets at scale, if you will. We're also thinking about it from straight up service design. How can we make our workflows better internally and then ultimately make them your workflow? So like restructuring marketing teams for brands. So those are sort of some of the solutions that we're bringing to.
And they're asking you now?
Yes, I think from a brand experience, I can kind of talk to a couple different contexts. One is entertainment and one is utility. So from a utility perspective, from an entertainment perspective, we're having a lot more success. And I think it's because we're building it on personas that already exist. People know what to expect. We did something for Spotify in the weekend using deepfake. It used Spotify data, which their customers are used to. They've been using that as a marketing cornerstone for years. We did it with The Weeknd. It was a personalized concert. It was all, the fidelity of it was kind of like all glitchy, which was super on brand for him. It was a one-to-one interaction, super personalized. That was fantastic. It won a bunch of awards, and it was easy. It didn't put a lot of pressure on the consumer. The other thing is we're working on a pilot program for a hotel chain that I can't talk about yet, but ultimately they're trying to solve a problem, which is they can't get front desk workers to work concierge. Like they just can't hire them. They're wondering, can I use a digital avatar to solve that problem? So we're piloting what that is. Do consumers feel comfortable maybe going downstairs and having a transactional moment to say, here's my ticket number, bring my car around? But do they want to go in the hotel lobby, mind you, and have a conversation about their tastes and preferences so that they can get the best recommendation for a restaurant or experience? So those are the sort of like consumer applications that they're coming to us to solve for.
I love the real world
Yeah,
applications of it. So Daniel, let's jump over to you, because you are representing the AI video platform. And we are hearing a lot about, oh, now you can just cut video without having an editor or doing whatever, and how real is that? We're all sitting here going, well, do I have to learn, Premiere again, or whatever? So tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what Synthesia allows any employee to do in the enterprise is to generate video end-to-end just by typing text, right? And what we're trying to solve there is to replace text as the main way of communicating in the enterprise. I don't think it's been by choice that we've been using text-based communications. You know, nobody's ever said, let me send this email because it's the most engaging way to get my message across. We've been stuck with text simply because it was the only format that anyone in the enterprise could generate. So today, really, our core use cases are allowing any employee to just, in their browser, generate photorealistic video just by typing text. Think about all of the boring enterprise use cases that you can think about. We serve them. They're great. You know, things like compliance training, where all of a sudden you don't have to use physical cameras and microphones to create video for compliance training every single time your business code of conduct changes. If your policies change, you just hit edit and you can just update the video and regenerate it again. Now, that's the current state of where we are with AI video. But what I'm super excited about is where we want to get to in 5 years' time, which is really to empower anyone to create a Hollywood-grade movie on their laptop with nothing but their imagination. And you know, just like the internet and user-generated content led to some of the most lucrative business models ever invented, I do believe that democratizing video creation and allowing many more people to enter video production will unlock just that much value for customers. Now, it's going to take a couple of years for us to get there, for us to do fully generated photorealistic 3D scenes, but along the way, we need to invent all of the new AI native formats and solutions, right? Like, just like when we went from analog film to digital sensors, we weren't doing a feature film on a mobile anymore. We need to invent what these formats look like. And I honestly don't know what they look like. One thing I can certainly tell you, it's not an MP4 file with linear video, right? So as we go there, we're seeing some of the early experiments in the space. So, for example, we've worked with PepsiCo and Leo Messi, who they have a brand partnership with, where we created the photorealistic custom AI avatar of Messi, which then allowed fans to generate one-to-one personalized messages using Messi's avatar to invite their friend to the next game. We've generated more than 7 million videos in 10 languages to date, and it really shows you some of the new features of AI video that you just can't do with traditional means, right? Like the scalability is one, the personalization is another one. And just like we're quite used now to personalized experiences when you go on a website, I think very, very quickly we will land into a world where video content finally can be one-to-one personalized. So those are really the exciting parts of our business.
You were also telling me you've done about 18 million videos for enterprise already, so this is happening.
Exactly, and really we like to say that our competition is text, because what we're replacing in the enterprise, it's those boring PDFs that nobody will ever read, right? So what we're doing today is enabling anyone who previously would have communicated in an email or PowerPoint to be able to generate video end-to-end directly in their browser. So from like sales enablement to change management, all the way to customer support with video are all use cases. And that's really why we started with the enterprise, because that's where we saw the biggest need for where AI video could really help out.
So cool. All right, we're gonna just wrap up these little mini interviews with the fabulous Christina Lee Storm. And you are truly representing the Hollywood POV. You're a longtime producer, most recently virtual production at Netflix. So tell us what your perspective is on virtual units.
Yeah, I think you kind of alluded a little bit with Shalini, but what's interesting is we have this 100-year plus, industry, and traditionally, I would say that we are still in an early adoption of technology, as we've seen sort of how things played out with the strikes and whatnot. And so part of it is this understanding the elephant in the room, which is the concept of what is really entertainment. And we've talked about it before, but once Hollywood can sort of grapple with the idea of this, what I like to coin the entertainment umbrella, we're able to sort of unlock some things. So in there, the current traditional entertainment umbrella is like, you go to the movie theater, you might go to a live show or something, maybe go to a musical or Broadway. You also go and watch television, or you can watch streaming series. And that is a very much a traditional thought, a traditional sense of this is where storytelling takes place and how it's derived and all of that. And so what is expanding through technology is that it's actually a widened entertainment umbrella where we're seeing that Gen Z, Alpha are really looking at it from all aspects very seamlessly. It's everything from film, TV, games, esports, music, podcasts, social media, UGC. And I think that once we kind of grapple with that concept, that it is actually more seamless than maybe, millennial or even a Gen Xer might, deal with, then we start to understand that entertainment is really that mechanism. We 100% need social media and that brand portion to sort of drive even the storytelling. But the long-term sort of game, what is that pie in the sky is really that translation of assets. Or if you're going to develop something, how do we do that? And it's awesome that NVIDIA is laying that groundwork and that the technology for the space so that we can have an opportunity to have different types of mediums at play, for the audience. And so, it's really first recognizing that we're still kind of early adoption to it, but as we keep going, as we start seeing success stories of how this is working, how certain celebrities and whatnot are utilizing things, it starts to become interesting in how it intersects with storytelling.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you were making me think about Barbie and what an extraordinary job they did with their sort of 360 storytelling marketing approach. And I was thinking, it would be fun to have had Ryan Gosling kind of hang out with me. just not in a bad way. But anyway, but just, sing that song and all that stuff. But
and then it does open up, just to go back to Daniel's thought, is that you're opening up to sort of unlocking creativity. Like today, storytelling, it's a very loaded question, but like what is storytelling and whatnot. But I think today, what we know of storytelling and how people are going to engage with storytelling is going to be different. It will be different 5 years from now, and for us to be really prepared for that.
how many of you, by the way, have like Gen Zers at home right now? Raise your hands. If you have, or Gen Xers or something. Or I guess they're already graduating but not leaving your house, but that's just what happens. But because if you do have a Gen Zer, you will notice that they do spend so much time as an avatar, and they identify with that, and that's all my kid wants to do is fix up her avatar. I actually wanted to ask you this, Fay, because you've done work with both, with different demographics, right? You've done work with Gen Z, in different ways. You said that there's different behaviors happening with how they are using virtual characters. Can you share a little bit of that, and then you guys can jump in on where you see the demographics playing out here?
Sure. Yeah, we've actually seen some really, really interesting Gen Z use cases that we didn't think about or anticipate. And so one I'll share with you, I'll go back to Mark Twan, great K-pop guy. And one of his fans actually created, leveraging like one of our digital avatars, which by the way, you can easily like create them, personalize like what they look like, what they wear, what their personality is. So created a digital avatar and created an entire romantic experience with Mark Twan that they put on video and then put out in the world, which was incredible. Just like incredibly creative, like things that we didn't think about. Another Gen Z one though that was actually my favorite was we had a student, I believe, University of New Mexico, who actually created a dating game. So remember the old school dating game with the Bachelor, the Bachelorette, and the three people literally used the studio to pick and create like the Bachelor The Bachelorette, and then 3 different males with 3 different personalities looked completely different, and then went through the whole scene of selecting them. Like, this is just incredible things that we didn't think about. And I know this was a consumer use case, but we can imagine seeing that across enterprise. You can imagine celebs doing that as they're thinking about how to engage with their fans. And it just reminds me of, and takes me back to something Daniel was saying earlier, which is like, how you think about democratizing this. Like, this is what we want, right? Like, we want the enterprise cases, but we want consumers and fans and Gen Z to do like whatever they think is interesting. That is just, I think it's just incredible.
And you know, just on that one, I think there's something very important that you said there around, you know, things that we haven't thought of, right? Just imagine all of the people who currently don't really have access for one reason or another to Hollywood, to film production. There might be 10 more Spielbergs out there who just couldn't get to Hollywood, right? And enabling those people to create and bring their creative ideas to life using AI video, I think is something that is super, super exciting. Because while this might sound super sci-fi, this is something that we've seen play out already in music production already, right? Justin Bieber, again, millennial, here would be a great example where he just started out from his bedroom, and what allowed him to become a superstar is the fact that using digital music production tools, you can recreate literally any sound and just build a top leading hit. That doesn't mean that you know, the music industry went away. I would argue that they had actually greatly benefited from people like Justin Bieber just growing out from this generation. I see the same thing happening for video as well. And we also have to start thinking about some of the new business models that AI video can power. Because, for example, if a celebrity invests their time and money into building a brand for themselves, why wouldn't they scale that brand using their own custom AI avatar? So I mentioned Messi before, but for example, we work with David Beckham as well. And what David was looking to do through Malaria No More, one of the companies that he works with, was to reach new audiences in local African languages that he obviously doesn't speak, to spread the word about not spreading malaria, right? And so with his custom AI avatar, all of a sudden, he was able to reach audiences that previously were not accessible to him at all. And if you start to think about, okay, this was obviously for a social good, but what new business models could you build around it? For example, when you start, you know, football stars who are aging always start a gym or an underwear brand or even like a perfume or something like that. Why wouldn't you use your own custom AI avatar to personalize the videos one-to-one and communicating that with your customers?
Anybody else want to jump in on that? NVIDIA, are you looking also at the conversational part of all of this, like the language models?
So we definitely are investing in building language models and to some degree in multimodal models as well. But I think that, as Daniel pointed out, we're quite a ways away in solving a lot of these foundational pieces. And I think I think we're at the cusp of pretty much thinking about redesigning everything, you know, sort of the entire infrastructure of how do we, you know, like you mentioned, video, even like video streaming protocols, like what should be the right, you know, how do we define it, how do we compress it? So yeah, definitely.
So starting, what about you guys? Any thoughts on that? Are you focused on the chat functionality, multiple different models coming together? That's what I hear a lot, is that people are using combinations of models. Is that something that comes up for you guys when you're building things?
No, I mean, yes, I think, you know, we just did something with IDOS and UCL and Del Piero, and it was again, leaning into that parasocial interaction where, you know, you could join a WhatsApp group with him, and several language models that came together to have a fan experience. What we call it, like a fan cast, or you guys know better. But ultimately, it was like a second screen experience to try to bring a new generation into football. And it was real time too. So like if an injury happened on the pitch, he was talking about it in the app. That was super cool.
That's really cool.
I mean, I think what's exciting is there's a lot of innovation happening that's quick and fast. Going back to like Hollywood and tradition, it's like I think what's exciting is, especially in the work that I do with Playbook, is that we are literally that bridge to bring it back, like the emerging technology, bring it back to Hollywood, and how do we kind of strategically apply this to different pieces of work, because there is a bit of a divide, and then there's a need to like bring all of the social engagement, brand engagement, things that are happening, the videos that live, and again to pull those into potential use cases. Like how does that? Because you're trying to sort of rejigger a thought, a concept of what storytelling is. On how we watch and how we view things, and I think again you have to also relook at the future audience. What's the future audience? That seamlessness is going to happen with the engagement of, okay, I have this playing here, and I'm going to do my avatar, then I'm going to jump here. It's all going to be intertwined, so there is a huge opportunity to see if that actually comes to fruition. Or it can be siloed, it doesn't matter, because the honest truth is my alpha son at home is like, he's doing all of them already,
Right.
all together,
Right.
he doesn't mind.
Yeah. Faye, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, I just wanted to share one thing, because I think a couple people have mentioned multimodal, and I should have mentioned this when we were kind of chatting earlier, but one of the things that is unique about Soul Machines is actually because of the way technology was developed, it is actually truly multimodal, so it is taking in what is seen, what is heard, and so that's what enables kind
And
of
can
like
you
the
just
realism.
define multimodal again for everybody, just?
Yeah, so the easiest way to kind of think of multimodal is like when you're interacting with a digital avatar or some form of AI, right? Typically you either type something and get something back, or sometimes you say something and get something back, or if you've seen Google Gemini, you put images in there. But typically what multimodal does is it absorbs all of this. So you can type something, you can say something, you can hear something, and then the avatar, the experience is really responding to that. And so when I kind of talk about a more humanistic or human-like experience, it's because of that, right? It's because what the tech is doing is it's kind of listening, it's understanding, and it's responding based on that. And then basically what we've seen is we think that is really what is driving the engagement. So I know I kind of gave an example on the celeb side. So Mark Twain, so his fans are spending 10 minutes plus engaging in two-way interactions. But even candidly on the enterprise side, so consumer goods company saw an increase of 80% with people spending 13, 14, 15 minutes interacting with their digital avatar. And we think that is, again, because of that multimodal experience where you're not just typing, you're not just saying, we hear a lot of that.
So this is one thought that I just kind of wanted to mention, which is sort of an interesting and unique perspective from NVIDIA, is that lately we're also seeing the computer graphics industry really transform. So traditionally, computer graphics was always about defining everything in terms of triangles and colors, and that has led to amazing innovation in the game industry and in the animation industry. However, very recently there have been very interesting breakthroughs where graphics has, with the adoption of AI, become much more realistic. So there's technologies like neural fields, nerves, that have resulted in our ability to represent 3D scenes using AI much more realistically. And I feel like we have a path forward now towards solving the uncanny valley with digital humans. So we know how we can now represent humans using nerves, which they look photorealistic. But what we do need to yet solve is how do we make them move more realistically with these nerve representations. And because these nerve representations are so brand new, we don't yet know fully how to animate them.
That's where it's going.
That's where it's going. But I think we're really onto something here, and I'm sure
Daniel, you're onto something, I can tell.
Because building on both those points, so multimodality and what Shalini is describing here with some of the new technologies that are coming out are also important because they help drive an easier user experience. So we spoke about all of the new formats that AI-generated video might lead to. But if we want to enable anyone, for example, to generate a Hollywood-grade movie, they have to direct that somehow, right? In our view, the best experience is if you don't have to worry about how to define the emotions that the avatar actually represents. We want to automatically include that. So, for example, what Fay mentioned there as well, with multimodality, what you can do, and we're launching this now with the fourth generation of avatars, is you can just understand what the text has been that the user has typed, and just automatically make sure that the avatar's delivery is excited or sad as it goes. Because if we would have to create a user experience where they have to define it all the way, that would be quite tricky. So multimodality is definitely the name of the game these days.
Now, we only have 3 minutes, about 3 minutes, so I just wanted to do a lightning closeout on, how do you keep up with the pace of change? And I know we're always, especially at a show like this, where it used to be 2 years before you saw what was on the floor, and now it's like comes out tomorrow, So how, just really quickly, and I know it's a longer conversation, but just let's go down the line. How do you personally keep up, and then lead your company to success?
It starts with the talent, honestly. The talent is in our house, machine learning talent, modelers, analysts, so we learn from them, honestly. And we've got great partners like NVIDIA, we've done some stuff with Soul Machine, so really just hands-on the tech, and then bringing that expertise to clients. Absolutely.
For us, we partner with a lot of great, everything from artists to different companies. It's really in that sandbox where folks are really testing things out and sort of pushing the envelope, that's where you see things actually applied and then used. And then go out and see, hey, to the communities out on Slack or whatnot, it's like, have you dealt with this? Do you have a better solution?
Okay. Yeah, I would echo that. Definitely the partners, I think I mentioned some of the larger on the enterprise sides, like the Googles, AWS, et cetera, working with them on the consumer side, just being constantly in contact with our fans, asking them what they are thinking about, what they want to look for, and then candidly old school things like Google Alerts, newsletters, things like that.
So you're all advocating active researching all the time.
Absolutely. Active research.
Yeah.
So for me as a researcher or being part of a research organization, we're always, I think Twitter is one place where, or X that's called now, a lot of researchers post latest research, but just kind of keeping a pulse on that. Google Scholar Archive, where papers are posted all the time. So we're constantly reading the latest research, constantly grabbing new code bases that may be posted to the open source community, trying them out, large language models, whatever else have.
So it's not really kind of academic almost. What about you?
Yeah, so our approach at Synthesia is to keep on top of things by experimenting with our clients. So whenever something new and interesting comes out that might enable those AI native experiences, we can just go and experiment with our clients, because one of the great things about the lower barriers of entry is that you don't need millions to get started. You can just really try something out in a low risk manner and then see whether it leads to real outcomes. And then the very important thing is keep focus on the business outcomes, right? If it doesn't drive 60-90% in cost and time save, for example, forget it. If it doesn't drive 30% higher engagement, forget it. And that's really our approach to it.
That's a great way to wrap. We have to go for your next fabulous session, but let's have a big hand for this fantastic session. Learning so much. Definitely check out what everybody's doing. Thank you all so much for joining.